I met Jesus for the first time at about 8 or 10 years old at a youth camp outside of Lebanon, Indiana. It was our Church of God youth camp. I remember being in the big pavilion. We'd have our services every night. One night he gave an invitation to accept Jesus. And I remember responding to the invitation. It felt like, God wants to give you a hope and a future. I remember walking down the aisle and landing it looked like a very dirty carpet. And the next thing I remember is I was just laying flat on the carpet. I had no concern about how dirty it was down there, but I could feel the presence of God in a way that I've never experienced, and I didn't want to move. I was there for hours on end. And there was some other people around me too, but that was such a moment for me. That was a pivotal moment. That was my first real encounter with Jesus. It was tangible. I feel like it was very special for everyone, all of us that were there. None of us really wanted to leave, but when we got on the bus ride home, we all curled up in the seats of the bus and just continued worshiping for hours. When we got back, our parents were waiting for us to get off the bus, and we just didn't want to move. We were stuck in those seats. We didn't want to move. The presence of God was so strong on us, and that was my first real life-changing relationship experience that I had. I remember sitting under my parents' ministry, and I was amazed by them. They would walk into any church, and they were just intoxicating. People loved them. And I remember them asking me all the time, what is it like to live in your house? And that was a loaded question. My parents had their own issues, and obviously so did I. And this is the story I'm trying to tell. But I knew, even as a child, that I was gay, and I knew the complications that would have for my family. And what they were grappling with also. They would ask me all the time, are you gay? And I would be very offended and put on this whole, what are you talking about? That's so unfair, But I knew the complications that it would have for them, and ultimately for me. I was in a situation to where I was not able to thrive in the world, or not really able to thrive in the church. 1980 something, and even still today in some parts of the world, it's very difficult for kids to accept other kids that are gay or effeminate and are insecure. But I was in a situation to where I couldn't. I just wanted to belong, and it was impossible for me to do that. I didn't fit in either places. I had really good people counsel me and talk to me and try to help me, right? And try to steer me in a direction of, being a straight person, right? And I knew when I was forced to sit with a lot of people to really get me straight. And I knew their heart was right. I knew that we were just both in a situation that neither one of us were going to win. And I remember feeling a lot of compassion for the people that were sitting with me and talking to me and trying to help me, because I knew their intentions were right. We were all just trying to survive and to do what we felt like God wanted us to do. But yeah, I saw the frustration, and I remember, I won't say who said this to me, but yeah, he said, just find some dirty magazines, just just start looking at those and find a really hot girl and marry her. And it'll all work out, which I knew was bullshit and totally not the right way to do any of that. But I worried about that too, because how would I, I tried to date girls and I had love for them. But I always felt a huge level of guilt because I knew the investment from them was different than mine. I had women that I loved, but I would never be able to love them the way that they loved me. I know that God has called me in ministry. I continued to put myself in situations that would compromise myself in the middle of that, because I had dual truths. I was called of God. God has called me to do things, but I was gay. And those two things just did not work in the circles that I was in the evangelical spaces. You bring this curated version of yourself into these spaces. The person that you think will be accepted. And that was the only way I knew to do it, right? Is to bring this curated version of what they required or what was acceptable, just so we could make this happen. God has been faithful to me in all the mess that I've made, trying to figure out how I can live authentically within the church and out of the church. I'm here because I still believe in Jesus. I know what he's done for me, and I know what he can do for other people, but I know there's a different way. I hope that kids and young adults don't have to plead their case and make those hard decisions that I had to make and put myself in circles that only led to my pain. About 3 years ago, my husband Mark and I were really, really wanting to be a part of something again, a faith community to where we felt like we were making a difference somewhere. But I was very gun shy because I had just come from several very big ministries that I was disinvited to. We were starving for meaning and really being a part of something again, looking for community. And I remember watching, I think it was like a Facebook Live or somewhere on social media. It was in the middle of the pandemic. And I remember it was I'm sorry to the gay community from Pastor Tom. And I knew when I saw that, the price that was being paid in that moment and what this meant. That was it. I said, it's ministry's hard anyway, and for somebody to come publicly and really handle this situation and handle this big topic on a stage like he did, we ended up going to Sycamore Creek, and I don't even remember how it happened, but I contacted Pastor Tom, and I said, thank you. Sycamore Creek Eastwood is such a great concept. Not only do we stand behind the curious, compassionate, creative part of what the church is there for, we are so thrilled to see this beautiful thing come to life with the local theater and our building being really offered to use for the community and to serve the community. I really can't wait to see, in spaces in the church, we're still experiencing gay Christians finding their voice and really being able to use what God's given them within the walls of the church. And I really can't wait to see the leaders and the people that come out of Sycamore Creek, Eastwood. It's a great space to really raise up voices and leaders and voices that have not been given the opportunity to really share their story and to share these spaces. I'm Ryan Clouse, and I'm Sycamore Creek.